Please don't forget subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified of new daily videos.
I never knew my great-aunt Evelyn well. She was the family enigma, living alone in a crumbling Victorian house 2 states over, famous for her eccentricities and a staunch refusal to own anything newer than 1950. When she passed last year, Rachael Petersen, her only living relative under 70, inherited the place. It was a fixer-upper, an understatement that made Money Pit sound like a compliment. But it was mine, and I saw potential beyond the dust and decades of neglect. I pictured a quiet artist's retreat, far from the city's hum. The first few weeks were a blur of cleaning, sorting, and marveling at the sheer volume of forgotten history Evelyn had hoarded. Every drawer held treasures, every closet a story. But one area remained off-limits: the attic. The door was tucked away behind a false panel in an upstairs landing, secured with a heavy, rusted padlock. The will explicitly stated the attic should remain sealed for 6 months after her passing. Evelyn, ever the dramatic one. Of course, I waited exactly 6 months and 1 day. Armed with bolt cutters and a flashlight, I breached the dusty threshold. The air inside was thick, stale, smelling of old paper, and something else, ozone, maybe, or just ancient, trapped silence. It was packed floor to ceiling with bizarre furniture, taxidermied animals with glassy eyes, and stacks of crates. But in the center, draped under a canvas sheet, was something that immediately drew my eye. It was an old film projector, unlike any I'd ever seen. Heavy brass, intricate gears, and a lens that seemed to drink the meager light. Beside it, a wooden trunk contained a dozen unmarked film reels, each spool meticulously wound. No labels, no dates, just dark, glossy loops. My heart hammered with a thrill I hadn't felt since art school. Found footage. What stories did Evelyn keep hidden up here? That night, I set it up in the living room, clearing a wall for the screen. Evelyn hadn't owned a TV, so I wasn't surprised to find only a threadbare projector screen rolled up in a closet. I loaded the first reel, my breath catching in the quiet house. The film flickered to life, bathing the wall in a harsh, grainy light. It started with static, a blizzard of black and white snow, then resolved into a series of incredibly fast-moving, almost subliminal images. I saw flashes of what could have been landscapes, impossible angles of mountains that twisted like corkscrews, oceans that mirrored the sky with no horizon, structures that defied gravity. There were figures, too, fleeting blurs that seemed to be human-shaped, but moved with an unnatural fluidity, their faces obscured by shadow or speed. No sound, just the whir of the projector and the rhythmic click of the film. It wasn't scary in the traditional sense, not at first. It was wrong. My brain struggled to process what I was seeing. The images bypassed my logic, sinking directly into some deeper, more primal part of my mind. It was like a dream you can't quite remember, but which leaves an emotional residue of dread. When the reel ended, the house felt colder, heavier. I slept with the lights on. Over the next few days, the urge to watch more was irresistible, a terrible itch I had to scratch. Each reel was different, yet fundamentally the same. More impossible geometries, more shadowy forms, sometimes appearing to writhe or stretch, their movements conveying a silent, agonized dance. Some films showed what looked like extreme close-ups of textures that shifted and reformed, like living, diseased tissue. Other times, I'd swear I saw eyes, unblinking and vast, staring back from the shifting patterns of static. The more I watched, the more it affected me. The films didn't just project images, they seemed to imprint them onto my perception. I started seeing things out of the corner of my eye when I wasn't watching. A flicker of impossible color on a blank wall, a ripple in the air that wasn't there. Shadows in the shape of those writhing figures, clinging to the edges of my vision. The whispers started too, faint and disjointed, like distant radio static, but always just beyond the threshold of understanding. Not words, exactly, but a feeling of communication, chillingly malevolent. I tried to research the projector, the films, Evelyn's obscure interests. Nothing. No record of such a device, no mention of similar found footage. It was as if this entire apparatus existed outside of recorded history. I called Jack, an old friend who specialized in antique cameras, but he just laughed, attributing my descriptions to stress and an overactive imagination. Probably just some old experimental art film, Rach. Evelyn was weird. He couldn't understand. No one could. I was alone with this. One evening, I put on the fifth reel. The static cleared to show a vast, empty expanse like a desert or the surface of an alien moon. Then, slowly from the edge of the frame, a shape emerged. It was colossal, a dark mass that absorbed light rather than reflected it, its form fluid and constantly shifting, like smoke made solid. It didn't move towards the camera, but rather unfolded, revealing more impossible dimensions within itself. And as it unfolded, the whispers intensified, no longer static but a low, guttural murmur that vibrated through the floorboards, through my very bones. My breath hitched. My heart felt like a trapped bird beating against my ribs. I realized then that the entities weren't just on the film, they were in it, and they were aware of me. The colossal shape on the screen seemed to pause, its form coalescing into something like a gaping maw, and for the first time, I felt a distinct, undeniable presence behind me, a cold emptiness that settled just outside the circle of the projector's light. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I was frozen, mesmerized by the terrible beauty on the screen, by the creeping dread that was now physical, tangible. The film word, the monstrous form pulsed, and the whispers turned into a chorus, a cacophony of unseen voices all around me, speaking a language designed not for communication, but for dismantling. I lunged for the projector, my hand trembling as I tried to yank out the power cord. The screen flashed, the light intensifying, and for a terrifying second, the shifting maw on the film seemed to stretch, reaching out towards me, its form flickering in and out of existence, half on the screen, half in the air before me. A blast of frigid, dead air hit my face, smelling of decay and untold ages. I stumbled backward, tripping over a rug and hit the floor hard. The projector, still running, wobbled precariously, then crashed to the ground, its lens shattering, its brass casing denting. The light died. Silence, absolute suffocating silence. But the whispers didn't stop. They were no longer contained to the films, no longer just a vague sense of unease. They were inside my head, faint but persistent, a constant, low thrum beneath my thoughts. And the shadows, oh, the shadows. They aren't just shadows anymore. They shift, they writhe, they watch. I see them in the corners of my vision, clinging to doorways, lurking in the dark spaces between furniture. Sometimes, I swear I can glimpse outlines of those impossible figures in the reflections on my windows at night, or in the texture of a blank wall if I stare long enough. The projector is broken, gathering dust in a forgotten corner. I tried to throw it away, but a strange compulsion stopped me. It feels like a part of me now, a conduit. I can't unsee what I've seen or unhear what they've whispered into my mind. My old life, my quiet artist's retreat, is gone. Now, every single moment is spent bracing for the flicker, the distortion, the subtle shift in the darkness that tells me I'm not alone. They were drawn to the projector's light, but they found me, and now they follow my light. I'm afraid to close my eyes. I'm even more afraid to open them. I just hope they don't find a way to project themselves onto the world for everyone else to see.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to like it. And please do subscribe to support the channel.